organization was founded in 2010 by Tom Eggert, who is actually on the call now, although he's having a bit of audio trouble. But we were started after the 7.0 magnitude earthquake hit Haiti in 2010. And Tom, who was a professor at the University of Wisconsin, his students were compelled to action. So they saw what was happening on the ground. They saw the humanitarian crisis that arose after the natural disaster, and they really wanted to find a way to help contribute and raise funds to support the people on the ground. So we went from an organization that was started, in essence, in a classroom at the University of Wisconsin to one that's given 1,200 loans to date to entrepreneurs in Haiti and in the Philippines. Our mission, and we've actually revised it recently during a strategic planning process that we'll go over a bit more in depth once we get to a later part of this presentation, is to use microfinance to empower aspiring entrepreneurs living in extreme poverty to create a more equitable and sustainable world. So to us, we view microfinance very much as a vehicle that can empower people who are living in poverty across the planet as a way to really help lift them, their families, their businesses, and ultimately their communities. And as part of our presentation, Tom actually gave a speech, a TEDx talk at the University of Wisconsin a few years ago. And we're going to play a bit of the clip so everyone can hear it or see it. Hopefully, if we haven't done this before, but we're going to give it a try. So we'll go ahead and launch that. And this will give a little bit more color to the founding of Wisconsin Microfinance.
I knew I wanted more out of my professional career, and
on January 12th, 2010, Jurgens Polnice boarded a plane in Haiti to return to the US. Jurgens was a student in my class. I teach classes in sustainability at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And Jurgens had gone back for winter break and was coming back. And he'd be a student in my class again in the spring semester. Jurgens was on the last plane out of Haiti before the Haiti earthquake. The earthquake was a significant earthquake in Haiti. It was a magnitude 7 earthquake. The epicenter was 16 miles west of Port-au-Prince, which is the capital. Did tremendous devastation. 3 million Haitians were impacted by the earthquake. 160 to 300,000 people were killed. They don't really know how many. That's roughly the entire population of Madison. 250,000 homes were destroyed. 20,000 commercial buildings were destroyed. And of course, you know, when you have an instance like that, a number of organizations come in, provide aid. So USAID was there, and CARE was there, and Save the Children was there, and Doctors Without Borders, and Oxfam, and a number of others. $13 billion has been committed to Haiti since the earthquake. Well, we talked to Jurgens. His family was still back in Haiti. Class had started. And we asked him whether any of this aid money was making it to individuals whose lives had been turned upside down. And he said, no, not really. And so the class decided they would raise money for individuals. And so we raised $3,000 and talked to Jurgens about where we could donate that money and which of the organizations was making a difference. And he checked with his family, he checked with some of the friends that he had back in Haiti. And none of the organizations that were operating there were actually getting money out to the people whose lives had been shattered, who had lost jobs, who had lost homes, who had lost loved ones. So we decided, well, we would take that next step and take theory into practice. We've been talking about the idea of microfinance for years in class and never really thought about trying to do it ourselves. But this was an opportunity. And so we thought, well, we would put a microfinance program in place. Microfinance really being just the provision of funds, of access to money to people that were either very poor and didn't have access to the normal banking system, or people coming, from crisis. So for the people that, live and exist in the developing world, the idea of access to capital was just foreign to them. They had no credit history, they had no collateral, they didn't even have a business plan in many cases. But when you think about, all right, so the alternative to microfinance is aid, and there's certainly a role for aid, especially in times of crisis. But aid in and of itself will never help people in poverty lift themselves out of poverty. If you give people money, if you give people stuff, you create this dependency. And the idea of taking responsibility for lifting yourselves up is lost. People that receive aid believe that they need aid, and gone is that desire to lift themselves and to take responsibility for their own lives.
Right. And so that is one of the fundamental premises upon which Wisconsin Microfinance and the discipline of microfinance itself is built off. And that is, rather than giving merely aid to the people we work with, to the communities we hope to partner with, we really want to give and empower people who have business ideas, who have ways in which they want to lift themselves, their communities, their families out of poverty. We want to give them a tool with small loans to allow them to meet the goals they ultimately have for themselves and to really maintain a sustainable way of living. We're also actually quite female focused. So to date, approximately 81% of the loans we've given have been to female entrepreneurs. And that's not necessarily by coincidence. Many studies have shown that actually a lot of women who are in positions where they receive loans or they're in positions where they run businesses, they maintain the households, they're actually a lot more responsible with the resources they have. And so we're very proud of the fact that of the 1,200 plus loans we've given since our inception 10 years ago, we've given the vast majority to female entrepreneurs in the communities we work with. And that's something that we're really focused on, as many of you have probably seen with some of the funding campaigns we've been sending out to all of you over the past few months. And that's going to continue to be a big part of our vision and our strategic priorities. And that's making sure that we want to support entrepreneurs everywhere who are living in extreme poverty, but especially we want to make sure that we're maintaining that second part of our mission, and that's developing an equitable world. And we really view that microfinance, especially to female entrepreneurs, as another vehicle to do that. Our growth in 10 years has been tremendous because of people like you. So that initial year, our lending amount was $3,000, and that remained static for a few years. And we're happy to report that that will be about 10x projected, depending on the loans we'll be doing for both in Haiti in the Philippines, and what we ultimately hope to do within the next year in Haiti as well. And it's not just that we're giving the loans out in a vacuum and hope to see some returns. Actually, what we've seen is an incredible repayment rate of about 98%. So that tells us that not only are we helping give money to people who really need it, but the people who are in these communities that are accepting the loans, they take immense responsibility. And that ties back into the principle that Tom was talking about, upon which this organization was really founded on. And that is, again, that people, rather than merely receiving aid, we're really looking to give them a hand up to allow them to help run the businesses, run the community programs, run the things that really allow them to support themselves, their families, their communities, and ultimately their countries broadly. So we've seen tremendous growth. We've talked, Tom's in his video talked about a bit of a story about the organization's inception. We're very proud of the work we do with entrepreneurs in the Philippines and in Haiti. But we do realize that with COVID, there is a bit of a strategic pivot we're going to really have to consider. And so therefore, this past year, we have undergone a strategic planning process. And there's 4 major components to that. For as we consider about how we can continue to grow our impact with the generous support of people like you who are watching this webinar and who are attending this webinar. And those 4 components are, we want to increase our operational capacity. We've been very proud of being a volunteer-driven organization for the past 10 years. We have a very active volunteer board. We've had volunteer directors. So you know that the money that you're donating and ultimately is being lent out to aspiring entrepreneurs, 100% of those funds nearly are going to support them. And all the other funds we use are also used to support that ultimate aim. We want to create a world-class donor and supporter experience. We want to ensure that anyone who engages with us as a donor, as a champion, as someone who likes to disseminate our mission elsewhere, we really want to create a world-class experience and provide not only in the form of these webinars where we can hopefully help educate the public around microfinance and its benefits, but also the way we interact with, the way we engage, and the way we brainstorm and collaborate with you to make sure that we're ultimately meeting the goals of the people we're supporting on the ground. We want to serve as a source of education for the community on the power of microfinance. And we want to expand and grow appropriately. We don't want to fall into the trap that a lot of other nonprofits and organizations fall into, where they want to grow rapidly. They want to give loans all over the world. We know that we do what we do well because of the support of people like yourselves. But we want to be very strategic and thoughtful about the ways in which we continue to expand. So as part of our strategic planning process, we're really thinking about where do we want to see potential loans outside of the communities we've historically served in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. And that's very much an iterative process that we're really hoping to drill down into with research, with expertise from our board members, and from the input of people like yourselves as well. And so, again, we really want to reiterate that we want to involve as many of you as possible. We've given about over $200,000 to date in loans, and we want to continue to grow that number, not simply because we want to grow for growth's sake, but because we've seen the impact that these loans have on the lives of people in Haiti and in the Philippines whom we've worked with.